Today, we are going to talk about the Maiasaura, otherwise pronounced as Maiasaurus. Maiasaurus is the feminine form of Latin, and the name meaning good mother reptile or good mother lizard. They are a large herbivorous heterosaurid dinosaur genus that lived in the area currently covered by the state of Montana in the Upper Cretaceous period, about 76.7 million years ago. The first fossils of Maiasaura were discovered in 1978. The genus was named in 1979. The name refers to the find of nests with eggs, embryos, and young animals in a nesting colony. These showed that Maiasaura fed its young while they were in the nest. The first time such evidence was obtained for a dinosaur. Hundreds of bones of Maiasaura had been dug up. Maiasaura was about 9 meters long. Young animals walked on their hind legs, adults on all fours. Maiasaura was probably closely related to Brachylophosaurus. Description: Maiasaura were large, attaining a maximum known length of about 9 meters or 30 feet. They had a flat beak typical of heterosaurids and thick noses. They had a small spiky crest in front of the eyes. That crest may have been used in airboating contests between males during the breeding season. Maiasaura were herbivorous. They were capable of walking on both 2 or 4 legs. In other words, bipedal or quadrupedal at the same time. Studies of the stress patterns of head bones show that young juveniles under 4 years old walked mainly bipedal, switching to a mainly quadrupedal style of walking when they grew larger. They appeared to have no defense against predators, except perhaps its heavily muscular tail and their herd behavior. Herds were extremely large and could have comprised as many as 10,000 individuals. Maiasaura lived in an inland habitat. Discovery: a skull of Maiasaura specimen Pu 22405, now in the collections of the Peabody Museum of Natural History as YMP Pu 22405, following the transfer to the Princeton University Vertebrate Paleontology collections, was discovered by Laurie Trixler in 1979 and described by dinosaur paleontologists Jack Horner and Robert Macula as the holotype of a new species. They named the species Maiasaura pueblusaurum. The generic name refers to Greek goddess Maia, the good mother. To emphasize this, they use the feminine form of Saurus, Saura. The specific name honors the families of John and James Peebles, on whose land the finds were made. The generic name refers to Merriam Bramford's discovery in 1978 of a nest with remains of eggshells and babies too large to be hatchlings. These discoveries led to others, and the area became known as the mountain and rocks of the Two Medicine Formation near Churchill in western Montana. This was the first proof of giant dinosaurs raising and feeding their young. Over 200 specimens in all age ranges have been found. The announcement of the discovery of Maiasaura attracted renewed specimens interest to the Two Medicine Formation, and many other new kinds of dinosaurs were discovered as a result of the increased attention. Short-tailed Maiasaura remains are found in higher strata than their Two Medicine River counterparts. Classification. It's no doubt that Maiasaura are sauropods alongside Brachylophosaurinae. Well, within Brachylophosaurinae, in fact, they were described to have been close relatives to Acrostavus, Gagostonii, and Brachylophosaurus canadensis. Paleo Biology. Maiasaura lived in herds and raised its young in nesting colonies. The nests in the colonies were packed closely together like those of modern seabirds, with a gap between the nests being around 7 meters, less than the length of an adult animal. Well, the adult animal, really. The nests were made of earth and contained 30 to 40 eggs laid in the circular or spiral pattern. The eggs were about the size of ostrich eggs. The eggs were incubated by the heat resulting from rotting vegetation into the nest by the parrots, rather than a parrot sitting on the eggs upon hatching. Fossils of Maiasaura show that their legs were not fully developed and thus were incapable of walking. Fossils also had their teeth were partially worn, which means that the adults brought food to the nest. The hatchlings grew from a size of 41 to 147 centimeters long in the span of the first year. At this point, or perhaps after another year, the animal left the nest. This high rate of growth may be evidence of warm-bloodedness. The hatchlings had different facial proportions from the adults, with larger eyes and a shorter snout. These features are associated with cuteness, and commonly elicit care from the parents in animals dependent on their parents for survival during the early stages of life. Studies led by Holly Woodward, Jack Horner, Friedman Fowler, et al. had given insight into the life history of Maiasaura, resulting in what is perhaps the most detailed life history of any dinosaur known, and to which all others can be compared. From a sample of 50 individual Maiasaura tibiae, it was found that Maiasaurs had a mortality rate of about 89.9% in the first year of life. If the animals survived the second year, the mortality rate would drop to 12.7%. The animals would spend the next 6 years maturing and growing. sexual maturity was found to occur in the third year, while skeletal maturity was attained at 8 years of age. In the 8th year, and beyond, the mortality rate for Maiasaura would spike back to around 44.4%. The studies that followed also found that Maiasaurs were primarily bipedal as juveniles and switched to a more quadrupedal stance as they aged. It was also found that Maiasaura also included rotting wood in its diet, as well as that its environment had a long dry season prone to drought. The results of the study were published in the journal Paleo Biology on September 3, 2015. Diet. A paper from 2007 that Maiasaura had a diet consisting of fibrous plants, wood, rotting wood, tree bark, leaves, branches, ferns, and geosperms, and possibly grasses. This would imply that Maiasaura was both a browser and a grazer. Sexual dimorphism. Studies of Maiasaura bisexuality suggest that one gender was roughly 45% larger than the other according to the mathematical analysis known as size statics. However, it cannot be ascertained at this time whether the larger gender was male or female. Paleo Ecology. Maiasaura is a characteristic fossil in the middle portion of the Tube Medicine Formation, dated to about 76.4 million years ago. Maiasaura lived alongside the Chirodon, unlike the Lophodontid, or Dromaeus, as well as the Dromaeosaurid, Bamboraptor, and the Tyrannosaur, Daspletosaurus. Another species of Hadrosaurids, referable to the genus Hypacrosaurus, coexisted with Maiasaura for some time, as Hypacrosaurus remains have been found lower in the Tube Medicine Formation than was earlier known. The discovery of an additional Hadrosaurid, Grabosaurus latidens, in the same range as Maiasaura has shown that the border between hypothesized distinct faunas in the upper and middle is less distinct. That ones of Maiasaura with the Tube Medicine Formation. The thorough examination of strata found along the Tube Medicine River, which expresses the entire upper half of the Tube Medicine Formation, indicates that apparent diversification was a real event rather than a result of reservational biases. While Maiasaura has historically been associated with the Tube Medicine Formation Ceratopsid Ionosaurus in a single fauna, this is inaccurate, and Maiasaura is known exclusively to the older strata.